For the better part of almost 2 years, I've been stuck on what to make a video about. I wanted to talk about Elden Ring and Shadow of the Erdtree. I spent 50 hours on it and I got nothing. I got an idea to make a video for Dead Rising Remaster and that turned out to be a fail. I wanted to do a video on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, nothing. Maybe a video on Balatro? I don't know. Not sexy enough. What about Doom the Dark Ages? I loved it, but I didn't have anything good to say about it, so I just turned it down. So video after video idea, I kept shooting them down because I was in a bit of a funk. I didn't know what to do. I just didn't feel that spark, that jolt of creative energy that gets you to do what you need to do and make the video that you want to make. Now, if anyone watching this has ever attempted to make a YouTube video, you already know making a YouTube video is a life choice. Hours in editing, writing the script, getting the audio right. I don't even know if this audio is going to sound decent or not. Then there's the thumbnail, which is a pain in the ass to me. It is an exercise in masochism, but when you finally get that spark, when you get into the zone with a game, when you get immersed into a story, and you just want to talk about it, need to talk about it, that's when you finally sit down, write the script, edit the video, and hit post. At least for me, The Altars is that game that got me to sit down and write this script. It's futuristic sci-fi survival game set on a sun-scorched, uninhabitable planet with crazy stuff happening on it, and the twist that got me hooked was crazy. Hi, I'm John. I'm just a nobody on the internet. We are the Nobodies of Gaming, and I want to talk to you about The Altars. Spoilers for The Altars, in case you haven't played it. This is your last warning. Now, I spotted this game on Game Pass, and I was immediately drawn in by the banner art. But it still wasn't exactly screaming at me to play it. I spent weeks mulling around, trying to find something to play, and on one free night, I finally downloaded it. And what I found was a game that was more than what it seemed on the surface. What I found was a survival game with a unique premise, good presentation, and a narrative with a lot more to say than I thought it would. The story is pretty straightforward. A corporate team of scientists were sent on a mission to explore a mysterious planet in search of a rare and theoretical element that could change human civilization. In typical fashion, tragedy strikes and all of the crew tragically pass away in their escape pods. Except for one man, Jan Dolsky, a down-and-out builder with no prospects who jumped on this mission as a way to make some good money. He has no special skills that would make survival any more possible without a group of experts. He finds his way to the mobile base that survived the landing and manages to make contact with Earth. But he can only pick up jarbled messages due to the interference. While looking around for minerals to make more supplies, you stumble upon the element that you've been looking for, Rubidium, a discovery of a lifetime. After contacting Earth about finding it, they send you back instructions on how to test the element in a special module called the Womb. With the samples and the instructions, you create sheep. And of course, what would a cloning story be if you didn't clone yourself? That's not the crazy part though. The real twist, you're creating an alternate universe version of yourself. A version of you that made different choices. A version of you that made different choices, chose different professions, and even made increasingly different choices in life, resulting in a completely different Jan Dolsky. The first of which is the technician. I won't lie, he's kind of an op, and I definitely hate him, but I'll come back to him later. When I first saw the moment when the technician woke up from the womb, I went from mildly entertained to completely enthralled. You get a lot of these stories about alternate universes and doppelgangers, but I have never seen a story when a person has to endure another version of themselves on a survival mission on a faraway planet. Now, this will be the part where I start talking about the gameplay, and except for a few exciting parts, this game is not exactly filled with wall-to-wall action. You get into your suit, you brave the inhospitable planet, you mine for metals, minerals, and that sweet, sweet Rubidium. You research technologies and equipment, you grapple up walls, you laser breakable walls, sometimes you walk into weird anomalies and time speeds up. You take your base and customize it the way you need it to make it bigger and better the more technologies you unlock. That isn't the exciting part of this game. The journey of Jan Dolsky as he explores his own past, his regrets, And as he tries to escape the extremely inhospitable planet with an exotic element comes together beautifully. And that's where this game excels. Every version of Jan provides an interesting variation on his life choices and are fully developed and different individuals with their own thoughts, hopes, and dreams. And you have to choose who to create and see if they get along with you and the rest of the crew. This game isn't going to break records, but this game has a strong message about human rights, workers' rights, the ethics of human experimentation, and corporations doing evil things for profit. All really good hooks for a story. The thing that makes this game great is watching Jan Dolsky find himself on the edge of the universe with an unforgiving sun ready to burn him and humanity's advancements to ashes. So let's talk about the altars, because without them, you're not getting off this sun-scorched reality world rock. You got two of your altars that circumstances will force you to create, the scientist and the technician. The rest are up to you to choose, but the technician, this guy is a huge pain in the ass. Oh, I'm gonna get to him. We have the botanist, the doctor, the guard, the miner, the shrink, the worker, and the exception to the rule, the tabula rasa. All of the altars are very different, but there's always a little bit of them that shares that spark with the original Jan Dolsky, or Jan Prime as I like to call him. At the beginning of the game, Jan asks himself, how did I get here? And at first glance, it seems like just something he's saying because everything is going on. But instead, that question turns into the thesis of this narrative. And to understand the altars, you gotta understand Jan Dolsky and find out how did he get here. Luckily, his memories are laid bare for us to search through. Not every single moment of his life, but the important flashpoints that led to his development as a person and as the only survivor to the most important mission in human history. Jan Dolsky's story reads like the story of many people with a very typical and sad childhood. He grew up in a mining town to parents who were really mismatched. His early days were filled with memories of his parents constantly fighting. The father who drinks to forget his worries, a mother who stayed with him out of fear and obligation. In his teen years, Jan faced character-defining moments. He walks away from a girl in trouble being attacked by two men. He avoids the conflict much like he does at home. He later becomes motivated to leave his mining town to go away for college, understanding that that means leaving his slowly deteriorating mother at the mercy of her illness and his drunk and belligerent father. He finally receives his college acceptance and promptly walks away from his family. In college, he prioritizes his newfound connections over visiting home. He considers working abroad even further from home. He rationalizes by saying he could help pay for his ailing mother's treatments. But it was too little too late. Jan's mother loses her fight against her ailment, too poor for the treatments that might have saved her life. At her funeral, Jan struggles with what he could have done differently. He concludes that he should carry on for her, continuing his studies and trying to get a good job. Eventually, he finds love in the form of his future wife, Lena. He struggles with the weight of the responsibility he feels for her. Jan questions whether he's good enough for her and wonders if Lena is ashamed to be with him. Jan finally graduates, and when presented with the opportunity to go further in science, he chooses instead to work for the private sector, thinking that that's the better choice to provide a good life for Lena. That means that he's going to have to do that 9-to-5 life, that soul-sucking work. But what it does do is give him the opportunity to buy the dream house he's always wanted for Lena. And like many stories of this kind, Jan's financial prospects are ruined by a major economic crash. With the finances in disarray, Jan and Lena's relationship begins to suffer. Eventually, a good opportunity is offered to Lena in STEM as a scientist but overseas. To Jan, that would mean giving up his house, the one that he worked so hard to buy with that job that he hated. Jan's desire not to let go of his home pushes him to convince Lena to turn down that job overseas. Eventually, that would be the final nail in the coffin of their relationship. He drowns his sorrows in drink, just like his dad, and Lena could no longer handle the situation and the arguments. They inevitably divorce, and Jan is left alone and directionless. Soon after, Jan sees an advertisement for the deep space mission named Project Dolly that was organized by Allied Corp to search for the exotic and theoretical element called Rapidium. Eventually, Jan's application is accepted, and he joins Project Dolly as a builder. That is the life of Jan Dolsky up until the beginning of this game. What exactly does that have to do with anything about surviving on a faraway, inhospitable planet? From the moment he decides to branch his life and create his altar, Jan Dolsky's life would have everything to do with this mission. The game is divided into 3 acts, and in every act, the point is to knock out your task, pump enough organics in the gas tank, and hit the road before the sun comes up in full and microwaves you like a Hot Pocket. You start the prologue where you take stock of your situation, and it ends when you create the technician for the first time and move your base to the next location. Every act has an escalating set of problems, checklists, or unreasonable requests. When it comes to your altars, though, it won't just be basic needs and wants. They will want very tangible things as they work to survive. You'll have to help them with their existential crisis. Essentially, to Allied Corp, they're a huge problem, and part of the game is to navigate them through that. If you don't manage to keep them satisfied with your decisions, the crew can and will mutiny. And it won't be pretty. The delicate balance of meeting your goals and interacting with the altars you choose to create leaves every act of this narrative filled with tension and moments of self-discovery, and the ramifications of how you chose to resolve your conflicts with both your handlers on Earth and your altars. Mind you, this is just a simple survival sim. Not very exciting in action, but very immersive as a narrative. I want to talk about the individual altars and specifically how getting to know them ultimately helps Jan find himself. From a gameplay perspective, getting to know them makes certain choices at the end of the game easier, and each altar helps you with that specific trait. The scientist helps you understand the importance of pragmatism. The botanist teaches you the importance of reliance by having you reach out to your ex-wife Lena for help. The refiner teaches you the importance of optimism in the face of personal tragedy. And a technician teaches you the importance of assertiveness by urging you to push back against Allied Corp, which would have been a pretty good lesson if the technician wasn't using the same assertiveness to be a pain in the ass every single day. I hate you so much, technician! But the real value comes from each of the stories the altars have and what choices they made in their lives. This actually helps Jan Prime find himself. The scientist, for example, questions Jan's commitment to working hard and constantly challenges any decisions that may slow down efficiency on the mission. The scientist is a little bit of a slave driver, and we had to help him chill out with that. The botanist was having an existential crisis about his relationship with Lena. He was married to her and expecting a child before he jumped on this mission. His story is probably the most tragic because he was the one version that was probably the most happy before this mission began. We have to help him process his monumental loss that really doesn't have a great answer at the end of this game. The refiner became a refiner because of a man named Ben that he fell in love with and tragically lost in an explosion at the refinery where they worked. We help him find this reality's Ben and also drop anonymous tips to help address his safety issues at that refinery. That and built him a gym. He's basically a gym bro. He's a happy refiner after that. It goes on and on. These altars provide the kind of self-discovery and growth that I don't think I've ever seen in a sci-fi narrative in a long time. I was fascinated and it got me thinking about myself and what I would do if I was Jan Prime. The lessons all come together like a puzzle, which will fully come together after you complete a run with every available altar. An idea that I like because there's multiple endings and some of them are pretty damn good. Now, the altars I chose were the botanist, the refiner, and the doctor with the scientist and the technician who were mandatory. On this run and right around the end of Act 2, that's when I knew I had to make this video. It started with the death of Molly, the sheep that you first tested the Rapidium with. She was the cutest thing. I love her. The crew had become spooked when she died, and the technician insisted we had to find out the cause of death. After the scientists conducted the autopsy, they found out that the sheep, and consequently, the altars are experiencing brain degradation from an accelerated growth that came from the process in the womb. The crew is instantly stressed out by this information, and none more than the technician. He sets a time limit to you finding a viable solution to the problem, or it's mutiny. Terrence Maxwell is the head of mining ops and is in charge of this mission for Allied Corp. He's also the guy who gave you the idea to make copies of yourself in the first place. When Jan explains the situation about the altars, Maxwell presents a solution, but with the need to keep the altars a secret from the world, he suggests using the Rapidium to create a clone. one without a mind or a personality, tabula rasa. When you take this to the rest of your crew, they don't really jive with the idea since it's really messed up to use a clone body of a mindless person to fix their situation with their brains. So, I have Jan go against Maxwell's orders and I reach out to his ex-wife Lena, who happens to be a bit of a scientist herself. She consults with a colleague and comes back with a construct of some neural device that will help them prevent any further brain degradation. And it's just a simple procedure that the scientists can easily do. And you think, wow, the day is saved, right? Wrong. You have very little time left and a magnetic storm is tearing your base to shreds. You still have to build 2 devices to neutralize a weird gravitational anomaly that won't let your base travel through it to rendezvous for your rescue ship to pick you up. On top of that, you need at least 4 altars to operate it with 2 on each side of the canyon you're stuck in, and then just when you think you've done everything you need to escape the situation, the technician takes advantage of the situation and stages a mutiny right as you press the button. Even if you do everything you can to make him happy, he will still do this. Man, do I hate this guy so much! But man, do I love this game. I was excited at the twist that caught me completely off guard. So, how did Jan get here? A man grappling with a lot of problems simultaneously at the edge of the universe. A man being challenged about his life choices both by the people on Earth who need him to bring back this exotic element and by the men who know him better than anyone ever could. By the men that may not have a future even if they do survive. To me, once I started to play this game, I simply couldn't put it down. I had been stuck on a game to finally get me out of this nearly years-long slump, and I never would have thought that a little game by 11-bit studios with such a cool concept would blow my mind. There's way more story here than I've talked about, and I would absolutely enjoy ranting about this game endlessly. I would rather you all take the time to play this game. If you're in the mood for a narrative-driven survival game with some deep themes and an easy-to-grasp survival with sim mechanics, this is your game. I don't want to forget about the hilarious movies that Jan and the alters can watch in the social room as a reward for exploring each of the maps. These short films are some of the funniest that I've ever seen in a game, and you could tell the efforts the devs put into them. They aren't mandatory to complete the game, and you could totally miss them if you don't look around every map. The titles are goofy as hell, but what could have been a throwaway cut to black as you get all the benefits of watching, instead turned into some of the funniest, well-acted short films that I have ever seen, and I freaking love them. With titles like Secret Alien, People Who Always Finish Your Sentences, Body Swap, Mind Wipe, Ask Me Something Only I Would Know, The History of the Universe, and my personal favorite, My Future Ex-Girlfriend. None of them are phoned in. You can clearly see the efforts the devs put into this. They must have felt it was important to the feel of the game to have these watchable and entertaining, and kudos to them, because I definitely was laughing as I watched this. Do yourself a favor, watch all of them. They're really good.
The fate of humanity depends on you.
You made it.
Glad to be here. Got it. And who are you?
This is my partner, Gunnar.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I've heard so much about you.
Okay, so, Phil, your leftmost node on your module. You need to articulate it slightly. Do you see what I'm
Sorry, you
talking?
two are work friends, or?
Basically,
Yes.
well, not exactly,
Well,
but,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, sorry, just to, when you say partner, you mean partner or partner?
Honestly, Phil, it's dangerous for me to tell you too much about the future.
Jenna, what the hell?
Okay, yes. Me and Gunnar will be seeing each other. Yes.
Oh my god.
Phil, please, I really need you to focus. Okay, so we don't have that much time.
Oh my god.
Anyway, If you made it this far into the video, hey, thanks for staying. I really needed to get this video made because it felt like I was in a real serious funk, but the altars just captured my imagination. The idea of there being versions of yourself that would look at you differently based on the decisions you made in your life, it hit me different, and it really got me to make the time to make this video and remind me of what I really want to say about these games when I make these videos. So thank you to anyone who's watching this. I appreciate it. So if you find yourself stranded on a faraway planet and you need to make altars to help out your escape, remember, nobody's watching. I'm out.